All right. Hello again, Avengers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 198. And today, anyone worried from yesterday? Bad day. I may make a video about everything that happened yesterday because it was profoundly bad, like impressively bad. But that is not this day. I may make a video one day of what happened, but that is not this day. On this day, we fight. All right, so it's not what I want to talk about today. If you've read the title, and anytime I make a reference to the title when I'm recording one of these things, it means that I actually thought of the title before recording. 99% of the time, I will think of a title while I'm uploading it, and then promptly forget what title I gave it after it is uploaded. But this one hits kind of close to home. And so I have a title. So if you read the title, which is, just to show that I'm not BSing, everybody's job is the hardest. What do you mean by that? Well, I was watching the YouTubes like you do, and watching a creator that I absolutely adore. And they shout, "Remain nameless," because it's not them I want to talk about. And it's actually not even the video they were reacting to that I wanted to talk about. It just inspired this. But they were reacting to a video, and this was multiple videos that they reacted to, but this one stuck out at me. And it was basically this woman talking about why she almost got divorced. And the video itself is interesting. Again, something that I think a lot of people don't understand about when people are like venting or complaining about something. A lot of times when they are just kind of letting everything out, it will be very, very simple and easy to kind of pick apart the things that they're saying and go, well, that doesn't make sense because you contradicted yourself here. You said this and now you want this, or obviously, you're just complaining because you want to complain. And remarkably enough, that's true. And that doesn't make them a bad person, because what it is, a lot of times, and for a really long time, this tended to be slightly, and but when I say slightly, I mean absolutely ever so much more slightly more common for men than it was for women, because the culture, at least in the West, for men is we don't complain about things, and if we do, we're called a bitch, we're called a pussy, we're called all these lovely derogatory terms that attempt to feminize us and try and compare us to women, because again, women from a cultural perspective were allowed to complain more. It was kind of suspected. If you watch television, going all the way back to the beginning of television, you see the kind of husband-wife dynamic. There is a trope of the nagging wife, because that was kind of what was culturally accepted. Women could complain, men weren't allowed to. I'm not saying that was right or wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying that was a thing. Nowadays, men still kind of have that stigma of you're not allowed to complain about things, but it's for a completely different reason now. Now it's not male culture that are telling them we're not allowed to. It is everyone else, because men have it so incredibly easy. And it's not just expected. It is praised when women kind of complain about the stuff that they've had to go through. And again, the point of this is not to show the kind of disparity between men and women. No, it's the idea that when that finally happens, because even though it is more culturally acceptable for women to complain more than men, it's still not acceptable in general. The nagging wife was a negative stereotype, and it was meant to kind of demean women. And again, when women do complain, it's slightly more expected of them than men, but it's also chastised. It's also relegated of, oh, women, am I right? And so what generally happens is both sexes, all however you want to define them, that's also not a conversation for this video, will hold a lot of it in for a long time, and it reaches this boiling point. And it's for a number of reasons. Cultural expectations, the fact that, especially when you start talking about relationships, the fact that you don't want to burden your partner or scare them away or things like that. Like, there's a lot of different reasons people kind of bottle the things up. And then they just all kind of flow out, and they start complaining about anything and everything that upsets them. And they will contradict themselves, because the entire purpose of the expulsion of all this emotion is not to give you a list of everything that you did wrong. It's to express emotions they haven't been allowed to express yet. And I have seen this in so many different situations. Again, most people experience it as part of relationships, because relationships are fraught with emotions. And here's another fun fact. It takes a very, 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 very long time for you to actually be yourself in a relationship. And for all of you going, how do you know anything about relationships? I've watched them. I would love to say, oh, yeah, I've been in so many. I haven't. I've been single for like 15 years, at least at this point. But everyone around me is always in a relationship, and I'm one of those people that's very easy to talk to. And so I get to hear about all of them. And I used to give advice that generally tended to work. Like, a lot of the times when my friends would come to me for advice, I would go, well, maybe you should try like, here's a secret to relationship advice. I will give you the magic cure-all to every possible relationship trouble you have. If somebody comes to you with a problem with their relationship, all you have to do is say, well, have you talked to your partner about this? Because they won't. They'll go, well, I can't talk, or, communication is the ultimate 100% cause of most relationship issues. Miscommunication, poor communication, lots of it. So learning how to communicate better will make all of your relationships better. But again, that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to the actual reason for this video. So this woman is talking about this kind of huge laundry list of things that made her want to consider divorcing her, from her words, wonderful, amazing husband. And again, the video is the video. And the end result of the video, again, here's a crazy thing. They talked about it, and they're still married. I think she said in the video that she's been married for something like 16 years, which is really good. Marriage is a very, very difficult thing. Having a marriage last longer than about 5 years is beating the numbers. So 16 years of marriage, very, very impressive. And they have kids. I think she mentioned that she had 4 in that video. So kids make relationships in general more difficult, because kids are just hard in general. Like, they're weird, like they say things that you don't expect, and they do things that don't make sense to you because they're literally teaching themselves how the world works. So yeah, 16-year marriage with 4 kids is very, very impressive. But one of the things that's brought up in there as just kind of a throwaway comment, which is really, really common when you have educated people arguing in general, is they will say something effective. Oh, studies have shown, multiple studies have shown this. And they don't go into the studies or anything. They just claim that, well, it's fact then. And just kind of throw it away. And one of the things that she mentions in there is, well, studies have shown that women do, a lot more work in relationships than men do. Men have more time for hobbies. Women are constantly working and things like that. And the YouTuber that was watching it kind of brought up the fact, is like, well, where do these studies come from? Like, how do they know? Do they just send some kid to just watch you? No, it's entirely self-reported. And depending on how they phrase the questions and how they get their sample size, there really isn't a way to control for the bias of self-reporting. And a really, really phenomenal example of that is the Myers-Briggs personality type index. If anyone is unfamiliar with that, you're probably more familiar than you think. It's generally referred to as the MBTI, Myers-Briggs type index. And what it does is it's all these questions. It's a questionnaire that you answer. What it'll do is it'll give you all of these statements, and you choose one of, I think it's 5 responses. You have strongly disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree. And once you answer lots of questions, like they're relatively long. I think the shortest one I've ever seen is somewhere between like 30 and 50 questions. And the really, really quote unquote accurate ones might get up to like 100, 120 questions. After it's done, it will shoot out a 4-letter identifier for you. And I'm actually going to MBTI types, which is hilarious. There are 16 different types that are classified into 4 different type groups. You have analysts, diplomats, sentinels, and explorers. And each one has its own name. The INTJ is the architect, or the ENFJ is the protagonist. Now, those 4 letters actually correspond to the 4 different, they call them dichotomies. The first letter is extroversion versus introversion. The second letter is sensing or intuition. The third letter is thinking or feeling. And the fourth letter is judging or perceiving. That is how the Myers-Briggs type indicator thing came about. And a lot of people don't know personality typing and stuff like that. All of that was actually created by the retail industry. Wait a minute, what do you... No, it's really, really fascinating thing. I want to say it was like the 70s or 80s, and a bunch of really big retailers. One of them, if I remember correctly, was like Safeway. I think Walmart was in there as well. I can't actually remember the companies that did it, but they pooled all this money, and they spent something like $50 million or something like that to pay these psychologists to come up with a test that would allow them to weed out bad employees before they hire them. That was the entire purpose of personality typing, was to be able to find a better employee. And so, again, tens of millions of dollars were spent on this. It took years to create. And eventually they came up with these personality typing tests. I can't remember if the Myers-Briggs was specifically created for that particular thing, or if it was one of the other ones. There's a bunch of different ones. The one that I tended to like the best because there was less things to remember about it was the Big Five personality types. But there's a bunch of different ones. And after spending all of this money and coming up with something that would reliably give results every single time, you would get a result from it, which is really important. They actually started using it in retail and in businesses across the world as a way to weed out bad employees. And they found out that it was almost as accurate at predicting whether you were going to be a good or bad employee as a coin toss. And this is another thing that a lot of people don't understand. In statistics, in predictive statistics, if you were trying to predict something happening, a lot of people think 0% is the lowest you can go. It's not true. It's actually 50%, because 50% refers to random chance. If you are just doing something absolutely random and there's two outcomes, which is what predictive stuff is basically looking at, you're either right or you're wrong. So when you have two outcomes with absolute random chance, you get a 50-50 chance. So these personality typing tests and things like that are completely useless for their intended purpose. But anyone that is applied for any sort of entry-level position has had to take one of these tests 40 years later. Well, why? Why are we using it when we know that it doesn't do anything? Because they paid $50 million for it, and they're going to use it. The sunken cost fallacy is 100% real. One of my favorite things specifically about the Myers-Briggs type indicator is as far as like figuring out what kind of a person you are, like what motivates you, which is what this thing is supposed to do. It is almost as good a measure of your personality as your Hogwarts house is. Well, what are you talking about? That's something that's completely made up. So is Myers-Briggs. There have been tons and tons of studies that have shown, and I know you just said that people say that. Well, absolutely. I would love to bring up all of the studies, but I have forgotten where most of them are anymore. And I've talked about this so many times that it's just not worth it. But if you would like to find them, I will actually do it right now. MBTI inaccurate. I want to see if I can find... there's even a Vox article from like 2014 talking about it. So yeah, if you type just MBTI inaccurate, it will give you tons and tons of things. The psychological field in general just kind of accepts that MBTI is just completely pointless. And some of the things that indicate why it's completely pointless and inaccurate is depending on why you're taking the test, people will get different personality types. If you are taking it for a work experience, you will get a different personality type than if you're doing it for fun. If you take it in the morning, you will get a different personality type than if you take it at night. If you take it before eating, you will get a different personality type than if you take it after eating. And the reason why is the Myers-Briggs type indicator is entirely self-reported. There's no way for us to actually measure what you feel. Or at least we don't have that ability right now. Who knows? Maybe in the future we'll come up with super cool technology allows us to read people's minds. But as of right now, there's no way to actually measure how you feel. And so the only thing we can do is we can ask you questions and then see what you answer. And in the Myers-Briggs type indicator, people will answer what they think the person reading the test wants them to say. That's why when you take it as part of an employment application, you will get a different personality type than you will when you take it for fun. Also, fun fact, like a lot of people go, well, then, yeah, if you're doing it for, like a job or something, that's not reliable. But the time that you do it for fun, that's totally reliable, right? No, because if you're doing it for fun, you probably want to share that answer with someone. And so you are going to choose the choices that you think are going to make you look most advantageous to the other people that you tell about it. So there really is no way to control for self-reporting bias. It's just not possible to fully control for it. And especially in something like the Myers-Briggs type indicator, it's just not possible, and it's been proven time and time and time again. If you would like to prove it, there are many different places where you can find online MBTI tests. Try it. Take one in the morning. Take one at night. And just see. Now, not absolutely everyone will have a different response 100% of the time just because morning or night. But take it a few different times. And take a few different, because there's so many different websites where you can take these MBTIs. Take it from different websites, because technically it's the same test, but they might have different questions on there. Because it's very, very simple. If you've already seen, if they ask you the exact same questions, it's very, very easy for you to just answer the questions the same way you did before. The way that the Myers-Briggs is supposed to control for that is they're supposed to have a lot of different questions, and in any one test, they're only asking some of them. And again, even when they do that, it's incredibly inaccurate. So anyway, why am I talking about MBTI as it relates to this woman talking about, how hard her life was and how her husband, who was super amazing and wonderful and helped out around the house, but was still so incredibly horrible and disgusting that she thought about divorcing him. And why is everybody's job the hardest? Because when we are experiencing some form of discomfort, it is always going to be more real than anyone else's discomfort. And so, and we as humans in general, really, really like to fixate on bad things. Another fun fact from my days in retail, when talking about word of mouth marketing, and I've mentioned this before in other videos, in general, I can't remember who did this as a study on this. There's been a couple different ones. I want to say might have been JD Power and Associates. I can't remember. Anyway, this study is thrown around all the time in retail management. In general, if a customer has a good experience, they will tell 3 people, just on average. If a customer has a bad experience, they will tell 10 people. Bad news always travels faster than good news. It is significantly more likely if you are going to review something, you will put a bad review down rather than a good review, because we fixate on bad things. So anytime you see something that's got a lot of good reviews, either they're cheating the system or they're creating a situation or an event or an experience so good that it is actually breaking the mold of how people normally do things. Normally, if you have a good experience, you might tell some people. Again, on average, you'll tell about 3 people. But going through the extra steps of writing a review generally takes a really exceptional situation. Whereas having a bad experience, lots of people will write bad reviews really, really quickly. They will tell all of their friends of a bad experience. It's just how it works. And so when that bad experience happens to us, it is so much more real than anyone else. And so anytime you talk to someone about their job, they will always have the hardest job if they're in a job that they don't enjoy. And the really fun thing is if you find someone that is in a job where they're very content and they enjoy their job, and you ask them about the things that they do in their job, you will hear things that sound horrible because every single job sucks. Every job in the world sucks. All of it has an aspect of it that if you had to do that, you would hate it. But when you're in a job that frustrates you for whatever reason, yours is always the hardest job ever, because other people can talk about the stuff that's going on with them, but you are removed from that. You haven't experienced that. You're experiencing your own job. So when we're talking about this thing of, well, who does the most work? I have no idea how they phrase their questions, but even something as simple, or how they found their audience. But even as something as simple as, hi, we're doing a survey about how much work women do around the house. That will instantly bias it. Because they will frame every response that the people answering the questions will frame every response that they have around, oh, this is me speaking for all women of the world. And so if I say that I don't do much around the house, they're going to assume all women don't do anything around the house. And there's also the fact that when you are only looking at, well, what happens around the house? Well, for a very, very long time, traditionally, men didn't do much around the house because they were the breadwinners. They were actually going out and working. And so they would do significant amounts of work outside the house. And then, yes, of course, women did significant amounts of work inside the house. It's a tough job to run a household. It's also a tough job to work in construction or work in an office or be an actor or be a teacher or lay concrete or clean toilets, or every job is hard 100% of the time. I cannot tell you how many times I remember distinctly talking with some friends, and we were all just sitting down shooting the shit. They were drinking, I was not. Not like shit-faced or anything. They were just having a few of them were having beers, and I wasn't drinking at the time. Another fun fact, I've been sober for, I think, close to 10 or 15 years at this point. Not because I ever had problems with alcohol. I just don't like being drunk. And so I haven't had a drink of alcohol in over a decade. So anyway, and they're talking about, and the thing about my friends, we were all relatively young. This was in our very, very early 20s. I think we might have been 22, 23 at the time. These are all people I went to high school with. And all of them were in entry-level positions wherever they were. I think the majority of them were working in retail or the food service industry as servers or just regular employees and stuff like that. None of them were in management. None of them had ever worked management at all. And they were bitching and moaning about, God, managers have it so easy. I mean, they just sit on their asses and do nothing all day. It is the easiest job in the world. And at that point, I'd been in retail management, I think for a year and a half or something like that. I hadn't been in very long. But I got a very rude awakening when I got into retail management, because I got promoted in the store that I started in, which is never easy because you go from being a colleague to being someone's boss. And second of all, the store that I worked in was the busiest store in the district. And we lost our entire management staff. Our store manager went to a completely different company because he went from being a store manager to a regional manager for this company. And I believe he's still doing exceptionally well with that company. He was probably one of the best bosses I've ever worked for in my life. And he was very, very good at what he did. He still is. And then we lost our ASM. I can't even remember why. Oh, no, we didn't have an ASM when I got there. We just had a store manager. So we were down an ASM. We lost our logistics manager, was our operations manager, was the title, because they got caught stealing. We lost the other sales manager, because we had two sales managers, because they were just exceptionally bad at their job. And as soon as I came into the store and was outselling them left and right, they got jealous of me and got mad at me and then quit. before I even got promoted. And so in a store that was supposed to have a management staff of, I think we were supposed to have 5 or 6, we had, when I got promoted, I think we had 3. And then we got an ASM in that came to work drunk one week, and so we lost him for like 3 months. And yeah, it was just over and over and over again. And so I learned management very, very quickly. And so all my friends are, God, managers are so lazy. I'm like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. Like, what do you know? I said, I'm a manager, first of all. And second of all the things that you're describing is not true. It's like, yeah, managers just sit on their asses and said, I don't remember the last time I had the ability to sit down for more than about 5 minutes. I don't get lunch breaks. I don't get 15-minute breaks, despite the fact that by law they're required to give them to me. I don't get them because there's no way. Most of the time I'm in the store by myself, and I'm not allowed to just leave the store to go take my break or go into the break room and turn off my radio. It just doesn't happen. I'm on my feet for 12 to 16 hours a day. 2 to 3 times a week, I'm threatened with losing my job because of something I didn't do, but I was supposed to prevent. The times I do get to sit down is when I get to sit down on a sales call, get told how bad I'm doing my job, how they're going to find someone to do my job better if I don't shape it up real quick. And then I am given homework like a second grader of, I want you to write me your this essay on how you are going to fix your store. My job was to get yelled at, spit on, threatened, and attacked on a daily basis. Fun fact, they did a study in the UK a few years ago. They found out that more retail employees are murdered on the job than police officers. Not they died while they happened to be working retail. No. Someone came into the store and murdered them. Retail is one of the most dangerous jobs as far as injuries are concerned. Death, I think it ranks somewhere in like 12 or 13 as far as like top most dangerous jobs. Fun fact, most dangerous job as far as fatalities are concerned is logging. Followed closely by, what is it? I think roofing is the next one because people fall off of roofs. And construction in general. Law enforcement in general, from a fatality perspective, generally ranks in the neighborhood of like anywhere between 8 and 6, depending on what year it is and what country that you're looking at. However, as far as injuries, specifically injuries that are bad enough that require you to take time off of work, retail blows law enforcement out of the water. I think it's like 4th as far as danger is concerned. And so, yeah, I was spit on. I was threatened. I've had 1 or 2 customers try and take swings at me. Not in a way that I thought that they were actually going to hurt me, but kind of that threatening kind of thing where neither of us knew it was going to dissolve into combat. But they wanted to assert their dominance. I've had things thrown at me. I've had associates take swings at me. I've had them call me every name in the book. I've had them spit on me. I've had them spread rumors about impropriety. I've been investigated for racial discrimination that was completely unfounded, and the investigation was able to show that there was literally nothing, but it's what it was. I have been investigated for, or I don't think I was actually investigated for this, because everybody knew it wasn't true. But one of the other managers actually spread rumors that I was sleeping with one of the associates, and wanted to try and get me fired for it. And before reporting me, she threatened me, saying, some people might think that you and this other employee, that your relationship is a little too close, because she absolutely despised me. And so she was trying to assert her dominance and basically say, hey, you keep doing stuff that I don't like, and I'm going to take your job. And I immediately went to the store manager and then to HR to say, hey, this woman is spreading lies about me. Something needs to be done. Had I not done that, I would have been investigated for an inappropriate relationship. That never happened. The associate in question, I didn't even have her phone number. We had never spoken outside of work. We had never spent time together outside of work. We were just really good work friends. It was all it was. And she was fluent in sign language, and I can't speak it very well. I can't sign very well, but I could understand a decent amount of it. So she could have conversations with me that her boss, the manager who didn't like me, couldn't. And couldn't understand. So she could tell me things, and she would like joke to me in sign language, because for whatever reason we didn't have a massive deaf population in the store that I worked at, so none of our customers understood sign language. Yeah, it was just hilarious. So yeah, like all of that stuff. Like I remember training an employee because we promoted one of our better salespeople to a sales manager, and I had to train them. And I had to, like, every day for like the first month or two that we worked together, I would have to take them aside and go, hey, I get that those jokes were funny when you were an employee. They're not anymore. You cannot say things like that. Well, why not? I used to say them. Like, I was saying that exact thing a week ago. I said, because you were an employee a week ago. You're not anymore. And I will tell you right now, if anyone files an HR complaint against you, HR will always err on the side of the employee over the manager every single time until you get to a really high place in management. And we are entry-level management. We don't have any clout. We don't have any authority. We just have all the responsibility. All the responsibility, no authority. Welcome to living in hell. Yeah, but being an employee is really, really hard too. Absolutely. Working in retail is a soul-crushing, just horrible job. Working in food service is a soul-crushing, horrible job. Working as a line cook is really, really hard. Working as a busboy is really, really hard. Working as a manager is really, really hard. Working as an actor is really, really hard. Working as a teacher is really, really hard. Every single job is hard. I don't get why people can't get this. Like, I remember during lockdowns, a friend of mine worked in food service and was really, really pissed because her restaurant was considered an essential business. If anyone doesn't remember that nonsense, we had to shut down everything except for essential businesses because apparently respiratory viruses won't infect people if they're essential. But no, the actual reason why is if you shut down the entire economy for 6 months to a year, people die. And my friend was sitting there going, well, I just don't understand why we have to be open. Just cook your own damn food. I said, what about people that can't? Well, there's, like, get a microwave. I said, well, what about truckers? I said, well, what about them? They can't cook their own food while they're driving 12 to 16 hours a day. What do you mean? Do you not understand how truckers work? They will get into one of these cars, they will leave from one spot, and then they will be on the road driving anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, a lot of times without stopping, or only stopping long enough to get food, use the restroom if they have to. Like, they are constantly working, and anything that interrupts their schedule could cost them their job. So you want to know why fast food is considered quote unquote essential? Is because no fast food means no truckers, which means all the other essential businesses, things like where you get your food so you can cook it at home. Yeah, you don't get that anymore because truckers won't be able to deliver it. You don't piss off the truckers. It's like in theater, you don't mess with the tech people. They will make you look bad, and they will make sure everybody knows it's your fault. You don't mess with the people that control the supply of your essential items, and that's truckers. It's why the Teamsters Union in the US, and I think in a lot of countries, is the most powerful union, aside from maybe SAG-AFTRA. SAG-AFTRA is very, very powerful. Quite a few teachers unions also are very, very powerful, but they don't hold a candle to the Teamsters Union. Yeah, I mean, it's just so. Yeah, every job is hard. Absolutely, every job is hard. Being a stay-at-home mom is really, really hard. Being the sole breadwinner is really, really hard. Splitting your time as both a breadwinner and a parent is really, really hard. Being any kind of a parent is really, really hard. Being a parent to toddlers is hard. Being a parent to a newborn baby is hard. Being a parent to adolescents is hard. Being parents to teenagers is hard. Being parents to grown adults is hard. Everything is hard. Every job sucks. And we get so fixated on our own problems that we kind of forget that everybody else has problems. Now, does that mean that everybody's problems are exactly the same and so you should just suck it up because everybody has a heart? No. That's one of the biggest problems that men have been dealing with for a really, really long time, is we have been working incredibly difficult jobs with incredibly high stress levels, and we weren't talking to anyone about it. We weren't saying anything about it. We were just bottling all of this anger and emotion up inside of us, and then we would explode and do stupid shit, like getting massively drunk or being abusive or lots of other real bad stuff. Getting into fights over and over and over again. That's not healthy. It's not healthy to sit there and stew in your own anger about something, because especially because you think that, well, somebody else has it worse, so I don't have a right to complain about this. No, you do. You are 100% allowed to complain about what's going on in your life and how difficult your life is. Because your life is probably very difficult. I don't know if anybody has realized this, but living is a pain in the ass. It seems that everything in this world is out to get you, trick you, treat you like shit, chew you up, spit you out, and leave you a skeleton. The world sucks. And at the exact same time, there's so much beauty, there's so much honor and dignity in the world. There are so many amazing, wonderful, beautiful people, both inside and out. There are truly generous souls that will give all of themselves to help other people, and they're not that rare. A lot of people think the vast majority of the world is assholes. No, the amount of assholes in the world is relatively small. There's tons of amazing, wonderful people out there. We just don't remember them because a lot of times they don't make a big deal about how wonderful they are, because that feels really, really bad. Especially when other people go, you know what, you're wonderful, but you really don't need to tell people about it. And the people that are assholes are more than happy to proclaim to the highest place, I am an asshole. And I enjoy being an asshole because being an asshole means I get what I want. So what's the point of this video? Everybody's job is hard, whether it is a professional job, whether it is the job that you have put on yourself. Thank you, phone. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad or the sole breadwinner or a joint breadwinner, whether you work in retail or finance, whether you're in a cubicle or having to make sure that you've got 17 pieces of flair, your job is hard. Your job sucks. So does everyone else's. So instead of trying to play the oppression Olympics to talk about who has it the worst, let's just connect over the fact that everybody has bad shit in their life, and everybody could really use someone going, hey, that really sucks, I'm sorry. Instead of having to feel like you have to justify why you feel bad. You're allowed to feel bad. Even if you don't think you're supposed to feel bad. There is an episode of Chicago Med. I actually don't want. I've never watched a single episode of Chicago Med, but I watch clips all the time because what's his name? Oliver Platt. Oliver Platt is amazing. He's one of my favorite actors ever. He is such a phenomenally skilled actor. He plays a psychiatrist on Chicago Med. There's this one time where this dude comes in. He got hit by a car. And so he came in. He wasn't hurt very bad. I think his leg was hurt because he didn't get full on hit by the car. The car kind of clipped him. And Oliver Platt's character decides to keep on hold for 72 hours for psychiatric hold because he had seen signs that this person may have intentionally stepped in front of the car, if you understand what that's talking about. And so the kind of subplot, because Chicago Med in general has like 3 or 4 different plots going on all at the same time, because that's how hospital procedurals work. One of the things that this guy keeps talking about is like, I can't be depressed. I have the best life ever. I have lots of money. I have an amazing job. I have an incredible wife, a gorgeous wife who loves me unconditionally. I have no reason to be depressed. So I can't have depression. There's nothing in my life that is depressing me. So it's not possible for me to have depression. And that subplot required Oliver Platt's character, that I can't remember his name at the moment, had to basically keep kind of coming to him and going, hey, I get it. I understand. It feels wrong. You can't understand why you're depressed. And that's the issue. You're allowed to be depressed because you're human. You don't have to justify your feelings. If you're feeling something, you're allowed to feel that. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that. There's also nothing wrong about saying that that's what you're feeling. Now, if the fact that you're feeling something becomes someone else's problem, that's when things start going wrong. Well, I'm feeling this because you made me feel it. That's when things start going wrong. But you're allowed to feel things. And you're allowed to admit that your job is hard and that your job sucks, even if it's the best job in the world, even if you absolutely love your job, even if you have worked other jobs that sucked significantly more to you. Your job's hard. You're allowed to say that. And your job sucks. And you're allowed to say that too. But don't try and position yourself to the point of, my job is the hardest. And you're not allowed to complain to me about your job because my job is worse. It is harder than your job and it sucks more than your job. So you keep your mouth shut because I'm the only one that's allowed to complain because I have the hardest job. It's not true. Everybody has the hardest job. Everybody has the job that sucks the most. Everybody. And I get it can be incredibly frustrating, especially if somebody's complaining about something they're complaining about their job or their relationship or something, and the things that they're complaining about are things that you wish so badly to have yourself. Like somebody complaining, oh my God, I had to work this weekend. It is the most unfair thing in the world. I'm not supposed to work on weekends. And all of the retail employees going, you got a weekend off? Lucky you! I haven't had a weekend off in 3 years. But yes, let's bitch and moan about the one Saturday you had to come in for 4 hours to your cushy little desk job where you came in, you sat on your very comfortable chair, and you got to sit there and type at a computer without getting spit on or shit on, or told that you're going to be fired, or guess what? Their job sucks. and they have to deal with a lot of things that you don't, living in a cubicle. They don't get to walk around. A lot of them don't even get to leave the building to get lunch. It's a different experience. It's a hard job working in a cubicle. It's a hard job running a company. It's a hard job unloading boxes from a truck. It's a hard job loading boxes onto a truck. It's a hard job driving a forklift. It's a hard job using a pallet jack to move all of those things that would normally be moved with a forklift. But you don't have a forklift at your job, so you have to drag them around by hand and run over your toes, which is really, really bad, by the way. If you have never run over your foot with a forklift, or with a forklift, you just won't have a foot anymore. But with a pallet jack, you might get to keep your toes, but it's not fun. Everybody's job sucks. Everybody's job is the hardest. And it's okay to be upset about how hard your job is. But don't turn it into a contest. You will eventually find someone you lose against. And the worst experience in the world is being completely justified in the idea of my job is hard and my job sucks, and having someone else tell you about their job, and you realize that were you in that job, you would give anything in the world to work your current sucky hard job. Because then you get into this idea of, well, I'm not allowed to feel that feeling because that person is not complaining as loud as I am, and their job is so much worse than mine is. It's not. Everybody's job sucks. There are just certain people that kind of gel better with certain jobs. I've seen, like, I have so many friends that are in education, and I've heard them, and not just friends, like YouTube videos and other things. I've heard educators talking about some of the stuff that they've had to deal with. One of my favorites in the world, and if there are educators that are fans, feel free to chime in on this. I have been told by multiple sources, both people that I physically know that work in education and through third-party sources like reading Reddit stories and YouTube videos from educators. If a student attacks a teacher, they will get suspended. If a teacher defends themselves from a student attacking them, they will be fired and will never work again. Instantly. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. And it's just expected that eventually one of your students is going to take a swing at you. And there's nothing you can do about that. That is a terrifying world to live in. And yet the same people that have told me about situations where they've been assaulted by one of their students, in the next sentence, will go on for 20 minutes about the most amazing experience they had as a teacher, being able to connect with young minds and watching these kids grow from these kind of just really, what's the word I'm trying to say? Really scared and, vulnerable kids, and then watching as they learn who they really are and start finding confidence in themselves and start realizing the things that they do well and starting to watch them excel. That's an amazing experience. And so a lot of times I hear these teachers, not quite as much anymore, they'll say, that's what makes the job worth it. I mean, that's terrifying to me. And again, I worked in retail. I did have to worry about customers attacking me, customers killing me. And yet, the big difference is it wasn't guaranteed that I would lose my job if I fought back. There was a very good chance that I would, unless I had everything on camera. And even then, even if I was 100% justified in my self-defense, I was still going to get a reprimand by someone. But I wasn't always going to lose my job. Another fun fact, due to the fact that not only am I a dude, but I'm a big dude, let's just say I am less likely, not impossible, weapons change things very, very quickly, but big dude, anyone that doesn't know, I'm 6'4". I used to weigh a little over 330 pounds, and I have a very, very wide frame. So even when I was 300 and I think I got up to like 334 at one point, was the highest I remember weighing. Even when I was 334 pounds, because my frame is so large, I didn't look like this giant fat fuck that couldn't do anything. I looked like a walking refrigerator. And I had enough tone in my muscles. I was not super strong, but again, I was lifting 50 and 100-pound printers on my own and carrying them up ladders. I had enough muscle definition that it kind of pushed the fat out enough so that I looked, and I tended to wear baggier-ish clothes, looser fitting clothes. I looked like someone you didn't want to mess with. And then combine that with deep voice and my ability to look threatening, I could diffuse a lot of situations with customers before it came to blows. The teaching profession is predominantly women, and they are teaching, especially once you get to high school age, which is when things start getting dangerous, they are teaching things like football stars and just kids in general that are in their pretty close to their prime athletic ability and have lots of hormones going around and lots of new emotions and have a hard time controlling those emotions. That's a terrifying situation to be in. I'm not trying to say that I was just as afraid as the teacher. No, it's a different experience. I had different things I had to worry about than teachers do. All jobs are hard. All jobs suck. It is what it is. Anyway, anyone that has an actual... If there are any married people out there that... let's just use easy numbers. If you've been married for longer than 5 years and you are happy that you are married. Because I know a few people are like, yeah, I've been married for 20 years. Can't stand the bitch. If you've been married longer than 5 years and you are happy in your marriage or happy to be married, you don't have to be happy all the time. You won't be happy all the time, but you're happy that you are married. The absolute fastest way to go from happily married to divorced is to start comparing yourself and your partner as far as who has it worse. Because both of you will be able to find a way to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have it worse. And that's where a lot of these divorces start happening. It's also where a lot of cheating and infidelity starts from, is this idea of they don't respect me because I have it so much harder than them. I deserve something better. And then someone will give them the attention and the respect that they're looking for, and then will use that to inspire infidelity. Or sometimes they will go out looking for chances for infidelity because they feel like they need someone to appreciate them. A lot of it starts in this idea of I have it so much worse and my partner has it so easy. Communication is key in everything, not just romantic relationships. You got to be honest with your friends. You have to be communicative, because honesty by itself is kind of useless. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you can be as honest as you want. You'll just be called an asshole. Know this from experience. Yeah. So anyway, big roundabout way of getting to all of this. All jobs are hard. Everyone has the hardest job. If we want to get into the oppression Olympics, you will always lose 100%. Not against everybody, but you will eventually find someone who has a harder job than you in some way, shape, or form, and that will make you feel bad. However, if we all just admit everyone has the hardest job, everyone has the suckiest job, we can bond over mutual suffering. And that's a bond that lasts, folks. It's a bond that lasts. It's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.